Hello and welcome to this week's IG Live. Today we are going to be talking to Kori Swearengen of Rhymes and Spines. And that is, if you don't know already, it's an educational platform that provides literacy and wellness tools to foster a lifelong love of reading and wellness. Hello. And so we're going to be talking about why literacy is so important, what we can do to encourage literacy for our children, and especially what is the role of diverse books in promoting literacy for us. And as you know, we come here every week, usually at 1 o'clock Eastern. Watch for the announcements in case we have to adjust. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you too. Thank you for inviting me to share.
Oh, well, thank you. And thanks so much for your patience and getting this all set up. But why don't we go ahead and jump in? You can introduce yourself and tell us all about Rhymes and Spines.
Okay, so I'm Kori Swearengen. I am a mom. I'm an author. I am a dual certified nurse practitioner with a designation in family medicine and psych. Also, I am the founder of Rhymes and Spines, which is an educational platform where we promote literacy as well as mental and physical wellness.
Amazing. So tell us, where did your passion for this come from, for literacy and wellness, and what made you decide to start Rhymes and Spines?
So my passion for literacy came from childhood. I grew up in an impoverished environment, and a way for me to escape the trauma and my circumstances was by reading and writing. And so just growing up, I read at a very young age, and I used to write poetry, and it just opened up like a world of escape for me. And so I decided to start Rhymes and Spines because I have two little girls, and teaching them how to read was a dueling process. And so I consider myself a smart person, and I'm reasonably educated and stuff. And so I felt like if it was difficult for me to teach my kids like prefixes and affixes and all the things, it may be difficult for other parents and other kids. And so I wanted to start something to help out other people.
And one of the things I love is that you want children to know they can do anything they set their minds to, that they're talented, that they're unique. Why is that so important for children to hear, especially Black and brown children? And then why are books such a way to get that message across to them? Sorry, I feel like there were like 5 questions.
That's okay. We'll take it one at a time. So I think it's very important for children to hear this, especially Black and brown children, because it's not always a message that they hear. It's not always a message that they see. We have overwhelmingly negative things that we see, negative things that we hear, and sometimes kids just don't hear it at home. They may not hear it in the community. They may not hear it in the classroom. And so I think any opportunity that you have to pour something positive into a child and give them a good message, then that's what you should do. I think just being a kid and encountering people who I'll read in front of them and they'll say, you know, you're real good at that. You're really smart. They don't know, but that made a big impact on me as a kid. And so if just the little things, if you can do something and give them a positive message, you never know how that impacts a child. I think the second part was about books.
About books, right? Yeah.
You said, what was the question? I'm sorry.
So like you said, we should always be trying to give these positive messages to kids, and you've written some really, really affirming, positive books. Why are books such a good way to do that also? I mean, of course, we can always just do this in our conversations with kids, but why also are books so important?
Right. So I think there's a quote that say books are uniquely portable magic, and they actually are, because they're portable and they're inexpensive. And when you don't have a cell phone and you don't have access to the internet at home, and you may not can watch something very positive on TV, you can reach for a book and get a book, and you can take the book with you, and you can go to your local library, and you can go to the little library. You can go to the school library and get a book.
Right. And I love that it's so accessible. Like you said, I mean, we have the library. If you can't, you know, sometimes it can get expensive if you want to go out and buy all of these books. They're not cheap, but you can always go to the library. The school library is a great resource. And A phrase that you use a lot in social on your social media, which I love, is open books, open doors.
Yes.
So why is literacy so important for kids in terms of like opening up opportunities for them?
Because I think literacy is important because literacy is an interrupter, just like books are interrupters. If you're living in certain circumstances, you can, when I was living in certain circumstances, I used books to interrupt what that process was. I go in the corner and I can read a book and I can escape it for a little while. I go and I read and I learn about other people and how other people live. And wow, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. How, okay, you know, and then not only that, but books inspire people and books provide literacy and it opens up their minds. And when you see a kid and there's like a flyer and they can read the flyer, that can give them an opportunity. Oh, hey, that flyer says kids 3 to 8. You can apply to get an iPad if you get your parents to sign this. There's so many programs and opportunities out here for children that literacy opens those doors to.
That's a really great point. I remember when my son, my oldest, started to read and suddenly he could read signs and it really was like the world opened up to him. Now, unfortunately, one of the first ones he read was a sign for a candy store, which we were trying to go past really fast, but he saw it. But it does, you know, it means, like you said, you have access to all of these things and you know what's available out there. I love that because that's something maybe we don't think about that much. But I want to go back to what you were talking about because I think this is so important that even, you know, if you're an educated parent and you're really concerned and you want to help them, teaching literacy or encouraging literacy is not as easy as you would think. Like you said, you were a big reader, you're educated, you wanted to help your kids, and yet it was still hard. So for parents that really want to do this, what do you recommend? And maybe you can talk a little bit about what, like the tools and the things that you have available through Rhymes and Spines.
I think that I would recommend going back to the basics. Like you can go on my website and you can look at some of the things I have posted on my website. But I think going back to the basics, because I had to go back to the basics. I know this word says read, but to break it down to a child, you have to be like 2 vowels go walking. The first one does the talking. So that E is a long E. So E says E. So the word says read. You know what I mean? So you have to go back to the basics. You can read, but it's kind of different when you're trying to explain to a child how to break this word down and how to decipher these words and why these 2 letters make this sound.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Then what tools do they have? You have through Rhymes and Spines.
So
Because
I
one of
have
the things I love is that it's so fun, and I feel like part of it is like the mechanics, and part of it is getting kids motivated to read.
Yes.
And that's why I love that. I think you describe Rhymes and Spines as one part of it is like a playground, because I feel like it takes a lot of effort to get kids off of like the iPad and the TV and to get them towards books. So tell us a little bit about Rhymes and Spines and what you have available.
So I have worksheets available. I have some reading phones available, but I mean, it's just going over the very basic phonics of how letter combinations make certain sounds. Also, like I think sometimes kids aren't confident because they don't know how they sound. So I have some reading phones available where you can actually it's just a little device. It's shaped like a phone. It's plastic where they can hear themselves pronounce the word so they can grow in their confidence okay, I'm saying that word correctly, you know, or I'm saying it sound correctly, because that was another issue with kids who you can be literate, but you don't want to read in front of people because you're not sure that you're pronouncing things correctly.
I love that. I had never heard of something like that. So it's like a little phone where they can read and just hear themselves and kind of get more. That's great, because isn't that like often like a kid's nightmare is when they're called on to read in class.
Yes. Absolutely.
I love. Well, and so I want to also talk about, I mean, we'll be talking about Rhymes and Spines, but I want to talk about your books, because you have authored several books, and especially they feature brown and black characters, and they're very engaging. And you say it's to engage, educate, and uplift children. So can you tell us about your books?
So I have To brown and black boys. I have Brown Girl, and the Family Quilt. Brown Girl is a book. It started from a poem I wrote to, oh, there you go. It started from a poem that I wrote to my girls to just inspire them, to uplift them, to let them know I love them, that I think they can do anything. And so naturally, I was like, well, I feel like that's a message boys need to hear too. And so I wrote the boy version of the book. To do the same thing, to uplift them, to give them a positive message, to inspire them. And then the third book I wrote, these two are rhyming books because rhyming also helps with reading. Right. It helps them read. And then the Family Quilt, which is a multi-generational love story, and it tells the story of a grandmother and a granddaughter who they forge a bond through their love of quilting.
Oh, nice. I love that. I love it. And what kind of reactions have you gotten from families or from kids reading your books?
I've gotten overwhelmingly positive reactions. I think that in order to, sometimes it's hard to see something when you don't see something. And so when I go to the library, they see a Black author who looks like them, who is relatively young. No, I'm just joking. Who looks like them and who has authored a book, and she's here and she's talking to you, and she's a nurse practitioner, and she does all the things, and she's here talking to you in real life. It's not something on TV. It's not something you see in social media. So overwhelmingly positive. I've had little girls come up to me and say, hey, I'm going to write a book one day. Like, you know, and so that just warms my heart because I'm getting choked up. It just warms my heart to know that I can inspire somebody positively by me just being me.
Oh, I love that. That must be such a great feeling when they tell you that they want to be an author too.
It is.
And we had a question of where can we buy the books? I know I've seen them on Amazon, or how to get access to them.
So Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, Walmart.com, and on my website, rhymesandspines.com.
And of course, you can link to, I mean, we'll include in our notes when we put on YouTube, we'll include the list of the books that you have, but of course you can go to the link in your bio. Says, if you do an audio for the boys book, I'm putting my name on the pad.
Absolutely. Actually, I have something in the works, and it was inspired. Like, the name of the character is my friend Jerry here.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. So just to go back to we were talking about, you know, diverse books, of course, and that I know you're a big advocate of diverse books and having representation, and that it's a way to increase empathy. It cultivates kindness, improves a child's social awareness, and it also can uplift children, like you said, when they see themselves in books. And I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about, sorry, I'm just reading the comments. I wonder if you had any thoughts about like any other books that you're planning to write, or something that you would like to see that maybe you didn't see when you were growing up.
Yes. So I have a sister who's an LPC. She's a counselor, a psychotherapist, and we are currently working on a 3-book series, and it is reimagined fairy tales. And so we have so far, what's already written is a Little Red, and it's a character, Jerry, who he is a reimagined version of Little Red Riding Hood. It's actually about encountering a racist police officer and how that unfolds and how did he handle the situation. And then we also have a reimagined Snow White and a reimagined Sleeping Beauty.
I love that. So when do you think we'll be able to see those?
Lord. So it's next year.
Okay.
We have 2 written and one in mid-production right now.
It's amazing. And so what made you decide to pick those in particular?
Because it was just, I can maneuver and tell the story of what I wanted to tell using. So for instance, the Snow White one is about colorism. And so I can tell a story about colorism and texturism and use different elements of that story to tell. So it's basically, I picked those different fairy tales because it was most appropriate for what I wanted to put out.
The message, right?
Yes.
Well, and maybe we can just close one last time and say, just remind people where they can access Rhymes and Spines, where they can get your book, and everything that you have available.
So you can see us online, Rhymes and Spines, on Instagram and on Facebook, and also you can visit our website www.rhymesandspines.com.
And also, you should follow her on social media if you aren't already, because I love it. I mean, of course, you have information about like Rhymes and Spines and about the books, but one of the things that I was really struck by just scrolling through recently is you have all of these really great affirmations that you can read or share with your kids. I mean, it's really, it's in addition to literacy, it's just like a space of, I feel like, positivity, affirmations, lifting up kids and just the community. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. It was so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to share.
And for anybody who joined us late, you can see the whole interview. We're going to have it up on Instagram in a few minutes, and then later we'll have it up on our YouTube channel. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.